It is early April in the year 1185, and at a castle on the southern coast of Japan, a lonely guardsman on lookout notices a strange figure approaching the gatehouse. The figure is approaching from a coastal path that overlooks a wide harbour where more than 200 ships can be seen shifting in the morning breeze. As the figure gets closer, the guard sees that the man is a giant, more than 7 feet tall, and heavily protected by both armour and weapons. He wears the robes of a monk over his inner armour, and his face is partly obscured by a white head cowl, folded and tied so that only his lower face is exposed. "Halt!" declares the guard. "Announce yourself. Who approaches the house of Tanzo, Lord of Kumano?" By now the solitary figure is within 50 yards of the gatehouse, and there he pauses and stares at the guard. "I have travelled a long way from Yashima on Shikoku," says the visitor, "and I must entreat with Tanzo, head of the Kumano Beto clan." "Lord Tanzo is a busy man. Why should he entertain your request?" "He will agree to speak with me, I assure you, when he knows who I am. Now stand aside, man, and let me through." The giant continues to approach the gatehouse, and the guard is increasingly nervous. Stop! Stop! You cannot continue unless you disarm yourself. No weapons may be brought into Lord Tanzo's audience chamber." The giant is now just a few yards before the gatehouse, but he pauses and nods slowly. "Very well," he says. He lifts his massive naginata blade, a huge weapon, more than 4 feet long, of which almost half comprises a sharp, curving blade, and offers it to the guard. The guard takes the blade and gingerly places it to one side. The monk then continues to disarm himself, producing one weapon after another. First, his long sword that is tied to his belt, then a bow he has tied to his back, and a quiver of arrows. 2 other smaller swords he produces from various parts of his robe. The guard, astonished, places them all in a growing pile at the gatehouse. It has been a long journey, and not an easy one, and I have needed much protection to make it this far." The guard, still in shock, stands back to let the hulking figure pass. As the monk passes the gate, he pauses and turns back to the guard, who for a moment panics and places his hand on his sword. From the folds of his robe, the giant produces another smaller weapon, a finely crafted tanto dagger. "I am sorry, I forgot one." He turns the dagger hilt first and passes it to the guard. The guard takes it carefully. Without saying anything more, the massive warrior monk continues on. The gatehouse guard scurries after the disarmed monk, and at the entrance to a large reception hall he knocks at the door and announces the surprise arrival. "My Lord Tanzo, we have a visitor, a travelling Sohei monk who requests an audience with you. I told him you were very busy, but he said it was of an extremely urgent nature." At the front of the hall, a man of some 70 years of age consults with a group of attendants. The elderly man has white whiskers and a short white beard that reveal his age, but his tall, muscular body and broad frame is of a much younger man. He looks up, and when he sees a visitor, he waves his attendants to one side. "Ah, well now, how many years has it been since we were honoured by your presence, Oniwaka? Or should I now call you, what is it? Benkei. We haven't seen or heard from you since you left years ago. Then we heard you were stealing swords in the capital and that you took up with the Genji rebels." The monk lowers his head to the floor and says, "It has been a long time." "Yes, and now we have heard of your acts of valour, legendary acts, I should say. Charging down the cliffside at Ichinotani, still as reckless as you were when you were a child." The warrior monk bows again and says, "You honour me with your words, my lord, but my acts of valour pale next to those of my master and commander, Lord Yoshitsune. Since Ichinotani he has gone on to victory against the Heike at Yashima, where he has—" Yes, we have received reports of Yoshitsune's attack there. But I also hear that the Heike escaped with few losses, and now not only do they have the boy emperor and the 3 treasures, they also command the Western Inland Sea, and that, I suspect, is why you have come to me now, after all these years of neglecting us." There is a pause, and Benkei says, "My master, Lord Yoshitsune is a man of great courage and honor. However, yes, he now faces a formidable Heike naval force and needs support. And so, despite how marvelous your commander Yoshitsune is, you still need to ask for my aid, Benkei. Or rather, my ships. The monk looks up. Yes. The Heike control most of the inland sea, it's true, and so long as they move from island to island, they continue to get stronger. So we must strike now. But the Heike have advantage in naval battle. We need more ships, and we need expertise. And you command the Kumano Navy, one of the strongest fleets. You can make the difference. The old man strokes his moustache and says, You know that our clan has faithfully served the Heike for generations. If it wasn't for us, Kiyomori's father wouldn't have been able to bring order to the inland sea years ago. The Heike have been good to us since then, Benkei. Why should I switch sides now? My lord, the Heike have brought disgrace to the realm. They have insulted the imperial family and destroyed the great temples of Nara. That is why I am proud to aid my lord Yoshitsune and his brother, the lord of Kamakura, in their campaign to rid us of the Heike scourge forever and restore honor to our land. The old man continues to stroke his moustache and looks skeptical as the hulking warrior monk finally stands and faces him. Father, I need your help. On the 24th of April 1185, the future of Japan hangs in the balance. The fate of the great samurai clash between the Genji and the Heike, known today as the Genpei War, has swung back and forth for 5 years. In recent months, the Genji have achieved a series of victories under their leader Yoshitsune, the brother of the Genji lord Yoritomo, but now they are facing their first all-out naval battle, and it appears that the Heike have advantage. On the Genji command boat, moored just off the island of Oshima in the central inland sea, General Yoshitsune lays out his plan of attack to a dozen of his senior commanders, including his lieutenant Kajiwara and his loyal samurai Sasaki Takatsuna. Yoshitsune points on the map to the western tip of Japan's main island of Honshu. This is where the Heike have their fleet, he says, just off of Hikojima, in the straits that separate the tip of the mainland from Kyushu. There they can command the western approaches to the inland sea. Fortunately, they do not have control of Kyushu itself. My brother has seen to it that General Norimori has taken a position in the north of Kyushu. Says Kajiwara. Well, at least that should prevent the Heike from retreating to the south, at least. Exactly, says Yoshitsune. Meanwhile, we are here. He points to the island of Manju, more than 200 miles east of the Heike fleet. We will head west and meet them in the middle. We'll then attack them where the strait is at its narrowest. Here. He stabs his finger at a point on the map where there is just a narrow channel of water. Sasaki Takatsuna leans over and says, Dan-no-ura. Yes, and it's not just the Heike commanders who will be there. According to our scouts, there will be someone else on one of the boats. The Emperor. And Toku? Kajiwara is puzzled. The boy? Why? I don't know, says Yoshitsune. Maybe hubris? By bringing the child, they can show that they have no fear of us. But I suspect they are worried if they leave him on the mainland, Noriyori's forces in Kyushu could attack him. And it's not only the Emperor who will be there. They will also have the imperial regalia. The 3 treasures? Says Sasaki. This is our chance. Yes, says Yoshitsune. We are still under the retired Emperor's command, of course, and as you know, those regalia are really all that he cares about. The Heike will surely place the Emperor and the treasures on one of their largest, most heavily guarded boats, so that's where we must focus our attack. We need, above all, to retrieve the imperial treasures and the infant Emperor, something we failed to do at Ichinotani and Yashima. My lord, but, says Sasaki, what of our numbers? The Heike have more experience at naval warfare, so to have any chance, we have to have superiority in the number of ships. Yoshitsune looks down again to his map. We currently have about the same or slightly fewer than the number of Heike boats, but we still have a chance. Kajiwara shuffles his feet and asks, How is that, my lord? Well, for one thing, I believe that Lord Shigeyoshi will swap sides, and his boats will become ours. As you know, his son was captured by our men at Yashima, and he has written to his father urging him to support our cause. Kajiwara sighs and looks skeptical, and for a moment he and Yoshitsune glare at each other. Just then, the door bursts open, and a huge figure enters the cabin. I'm sorry, my lord, but that was a long journey from Kumano. Yoshitsune looks up and is delighted to see his old friend Benkei, and the two men clasp each other with relief. Benkei, was your mission successful? Can we rely on Tanzo's navy to aid us? Well, at first I thought he would deny our request. My father, as you know, is a stubborn man. But then he said, Benkei, are you a gambling man? Let us make a wager. He then suggested we decide the issue over a cockfight. If the white cockerel won, he would join the Genji. If the red, he'll support the Heike. I had no choice but to agree. So before the shrine, he put a white cock against a red. And then they fought. So, says Yoshitsune, what happened? Benkei pauses for effect, then says, The white cock won. Now, I would say that's a sign that the gods have decided. There is now a sense of optimism among the Genji samurai, but Kajiwara asks, So, will they really aid us? Yes, says Benkei. My father will be here, with 2,000 horse and 200 vessels. Yoshitsune nods. Good, that's very good. That will add 200 to our number. Kajiwara, he nods to his lieutenant, you have already brought us 140 boats. We may have less experience and they have larger flagships, but with Lord Tanzo's 200, that should give us an advantage in numbers. Kajiwara coughs and says, I'm sorry, my lord, I am sorry to be a voice of doubt again, but can we really rely on Tanzo based on, the fortune of a victorious chicken? Benkei, insulted, strides up to Kajiwara and says, My father will come. Yoshitsune intercedes quickly and places his hand on his friend's broad shoulder. Benkei, I believe you. Stand down. Benkei reluctantly withdraws. Kajiwara, though, persists. There is also the tide to consider, my lord. It will be with the Heike until at least mid-afternoon, and it could push us back against the coastline. Yoshitsune nods. Yes, but later in the afternoon it will turn against them. So that is why we must maintain our strength until then. So men, he turns to face the whole group of commanders. I will lead the battle and attack the Heike fleet. Kajiwara interjects. What? Why you? As general of the battle, you need to stay here to organize the attack. Why would you be in the advance? That is my role. Yoshitsune looks calmly at Kajiwara, but his irritation is starting to show. I can do both. I can command, and I can lead. Kajiwara, you told me at Ichinotari that I could not ride down that ravine, and before Yashima that I could not sail through the storm. In both cases, you were wrong. Benkei adds, Yeah, and at Yashima you didn't even turn up until the battle had been won. Kajiwara is now furious at these insults and his face reddens. Yes, you have ridden your luck so far, my lord, but 2 victories does not necessitate a third. When will your luck fail? If it fails today, we will all be dead by nightfall. At this, Yoshitsune is incensed, and for a brief moment both men reach for their swords. But this time it is Benkei who becomes a voice of moderation and urges his commander to back down. The argument is broken up, and there is a nervous truce among the leaders on the command boat. But on the eve of this great battle, one of the pivotal moments in Japan's history, things do not look good for the Genji leadership. In contrast to the discord on the Genji command boat, there is an air of confidence among the Heike warriors. The lead Heike general, Tomomori, the younger son of the great Lord Kiyomori, has just finished giving a speech to his troops, exhorting them to fight and reminding them of the righteousness of their cause. To his side, he is supported by Noritsune, the strongest of all the Heike warriors, a man mountain with multiple scars on his face and body that proudly declare his role in many battles. At the close of his speech, the Heike samurai shout out their war cry, and Tomomori heads to meet his brother Munemori in the Heike command center. Well done, Tomomori. Munemori congratulates his brother. It seems the men are well prepared for our battle. Tomomori nods. What of the emperor and our sister? Yes, don't worry. As we agreed, I've placed both Mother and Tokuko and the treasures in one of the regular boats to the rear of our fleet, where we can protect them. The Genji will surely assume the Emperor is on one of our larger flagships, but I have placed only our best warriors there. The Genji won't know where to target. Munamori smiles to express his satisfaction with his strategy, but Tomomori, as usual, is skeptical. I don't know. Maybe we should have left them ashore at Hikojima. If we had done that, brother, we would have left them open to any attack from Noriyori in Kyushu. Besides, having the Emperor among us will inspire our troops and show the legitimacy of our cause. Will they be safe? Persists Tomomori. Yes. The Genji will target the wrong boats. The Emperor and our sister will not be on the flagship command boats. Brother, you still look worried. Tomomori is now pacing up and down the command room, his brow furrowed. There is still the Kamano fleet, brother. We have heard nothing about Tanzo. Will he aid us or turn to the Genji? Those Kamano warriors are like pirates. They can never be trusted. Munamori, for a moment, becomes serious and says, We cannot control what we do not know, brother. But Tanzo has been our vassal, ever since our grandfather's time. He will surely remember that. He has pledged allegiance to us many times. Tomomori continues to pace up and down. Finally he turns and says, Brother, do not trust Taguchi Shigeyoshi. Munamori is confused. Shigeyoshi? Why? He has been acting strangely since he lost his son to the Genji. Munamori sighs. Look, many of us worry over our family losses. That does not mean he is a traitor. You yourself lost your son at Ichinotani, but that just adds to your resolve. Why would it not be for Shigeyoshi? It's different. His son was captured and may still be alive. That means the Genji can wield influence over him. Munamori smiles. I don't believe it. Shigeyoshi has served us for years. We cannot take the risk, brother. Let me kill him. What? No! What kind of message would that send to the rest of the troops to see one of their own generals executed before the battle was even started? Believe me, Tomomori, you can trust him. Now, let us sound the battle alarm. He turns to gaze out at the vast Heike armada that is gathering in the straits before his window. This Yoshitsune has ridden his luck far enough, I think. Now it's time for us to finish the Genji off once and for all. The 25th of April, 1185. It is 10 a.m. in the morning. Lord Munamori's Heike fleet has started heading eastward into the inland sea, and his advanced squadrons launched their first attack. An opening salvo of 500 arrows, a barrage that comes down on the Genji vanguard from all directions. It is the largest naval archery attack in Japan that has ever been launched, and for the Genji, it feels as if it is literally raining arrows. The Heike, observing the impact of their onslaught, beat their war drums and shout for joy. The Heike attack continues for 2 more hours, but by midday, the advanced boats of the two fleets are now so close that the battle changes from an archery exchange to an engagement at close quarters, hand-to-hand fighting with swords and daggers. The Heike continue to press their advantage. They are used to naval skirmishes and have no trouble pushing the Genji back. The Heike are also aided by the tide flowing eastward into the inland sea, and the Genji find themselves being pushed back eastward past Dan-no-ura. The Genji commander Yoshitsune is now increasingly worried. On the prow of his command ship, he looks out and realizes he is losing control. He turns to his closest advisor. Benkei, we need to get close to those flagships, but they're too well protected. We need the Kamano fleet. Where are they? Where is your father? Where is Tanzo? He looks across at his friend and sees that Benkei is praying. By now, it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. On one of the advanced ships in the opposing Heike fleet, the Taira Lord, Tagashi Shigeyoshi, is pondering his options. He has been weighing his choices since he received a letter from his son, who has been captured by Yoshitsune's forces at Yashima, and has implored his father to switch sides. As Shigeyoshi wonders what to do, he looks for any sign to help him in his choice. Miraculously, at that point, he sees a large, dark shape in the waters approaching the Heike advance line. As he gazes in wonder, he realizes it is a school of dolphins, hundreds, perhaps 1,000 of them, all swimming directly towards the Heike fleet and away from the Genji. This is a sign, thinks Shigeyoshi. If these dolphins turn back, repelled by our fleet, then the Genji are lost. But if they just dive straight under us, then our hope is gone and we face grave danger. Which will it be? As the sea battle rages on, the Genji general Yoshitsune is becoming increasingly desperate. He has been trying to reach the Heike flagships where he believes the imperial family must be, but is constantly thrown back. But then he sees his lieutenant Kajiwara approach. "It seems you were right, my lord," says Kajiwara without a trace of a smile. "We have received notice that Lord Shigeyoshi offers you his allegiance and asks, what do you command?" "Finally, some good news," says Yoshitsune. "Command him to attack the Heike from the rear." "I will, my lord," says Kajiwara, "and his men also bring some valuable information. We have learned that the Emperor is not on one of the flagships, but in one of the warboats at the rear of the Heike fleet." "What? And the treasures?" "On the same boat, my lord." "Where?" Kajiwara points out a boat towards the rear of the Heike fleet. "Then we must switch our attack immediately. Turn all our archers towards that boat. We must carve a way through. Tell our men to focus on the helmsmen and rowers of the Emperor's ship." "The Heike fleet is still strong, my lord," says Kajiwara. "How can we even reach that boat?" At this point, the huge warrior monk Benkei interjects. "Sorry to butt in, my lord," he says, pointing back at a fleet of ships that is arriving behind them from the east. "But we may have our answer." It is now 3 o'clock. Back on the Heike side, General Tomomori is starting to realize the Heike are in serious trouble. He has already seen that Lord Shigeyoshi's ships have betrayed them and are now targeting the Heike rear, and now he sees that a new fleet of some 200 ships is sailing up the inland sea behind the Genji. On the lead vessel in the approaching fleet, he can just make out a white-whiskered elderly man glaring from the prow of the ship. "So, Lord Tanzo," says Tomomori, "where does your loyalty really lie?" As Tomomori watches in horror, the Kamano fleet unfurl white banners on all of their ships, indicating their allegiance to the Genji. Immediately, Tomomori rushes to the Emperor's boat and warns the passengers there that the enemy are coming. There is now panic among the nobility as they rush to evacuate the boat. Tomomori shouts out as he boards, "You'd better leave fast, ladies, unless you want to become prey to some barbarians from the east." He rushes on board to find his sister, the Lady Kenremonin, and eventually finds her in a heavily guarded room with her son, the boy Emperor. "Tokuko, you must leave, but without the Emperor. It's too dangerous. The Genji will hunt for you, and if your son is with you, he may be captured. For his sake, you must leave him, now. Leave him with our mother. You must save yourself. We cannot let the Emperor fall into the Genji hands." At first she refuses, but eventually Tomomori convinces her there is no choice. She turns to hug her son one last time and is escorted away. Tomomori turns now to the Emperor and asks him to stay with one of his mother's attendants. "Whatever happens, Your Excellency, you must be strong." Tomomori now heads out and rushes to seek out his mother and her companion, Dan-no-ura, the wife of his brother Shigehira. He takes them both to a secure room that houses 3 wooden boxes. Tomomori pauses as he enters the room. Each of the boxes, he thinks, seems to emit some kind of supernatural force. Cautiously, he approaches a large square box. He picks it up and hesitates. He is tempted to open it, but resists the idea, and instead hands it to Dan-no-ura. "Please, my lady, take this, and do not look at what is inside. Take it and get it somewhere safe." The lady nods. "I will do this for my husband. He may be a captive of the Genji still, but at least I can do this for him. I will guard it with my life." Tomomori nods as Dan-no-ura leaves. Then he turns to face his mother, the Lady Ni. He reaches down and picks up a small box and opens it. Inside is a large curved gemstone that seems to emanate light from within. Both of them gasp as they look at the jewel inside. "Yasakani," says Lady Ni, "the divine jewel." Carefully, Tomomori takes it from the box and hands it to his mother, who places it in the folds of her kimono. Then Tomomori turns to a long box and opens it. Inside is a long sword that is clearly centuries old. He picks up the sword and holds it in front of his eyes. "Kusanagi," he says. "Just once before I die, I always wanted to hold the sword of the gods. I never thought I would, but now My life is complete. Tomomori sheathes the sword and hands it to his mother. We cannot allow these or the Emperor to fall into the hands of the Genji. The lady nods. There is no hope? Tomomori grimaces and says, The battle is lost. The tide has turned and we have been betrayed, mother, and our boats are drifting towards the shore of Dan-no-ura. Now the Genji are taking out our helmsmen and rowers. Ha, she says. The Genji have no rules. That's not war. Tomomori shrugs. This is what war means now. It's total war, whatever it takes. And this time the Genji have played us. He turns one last time to his mother and bows. The lady looks at her son for the last time. She nods and says, I know what I must do. Tomomori nods and rushes out to return to battle. The lady heads quickly now to the next room where she gathers up the Emperor, a 6-year-old boy with long hair to his shoulders. As she escorts him from the room, the boy asks, Where is my mother? She is safe, says the lady. Come, hold my hand. He then notices her sword. Grandma, you're carrying a sword. Are we going to battle? No, my boy. We are going somewhere safe. My uncle Tomomori told me I have to be strong. Yes, my boy. We all do. She steps outside and can immediately see the Genji armada approaching. Together, the old lady and the young boy approach the bow of the ship. From there, they can see the advance boats of the Genji fleet advancing, their white banners almost within reach. Where are we going, Grandma? The Emperor asks. To a wonderful place, my boy. She asks the boy to bow west and then east to honor the gods. And then, together, they step forward onto the prow of the ship. Down there, my boy, she says, clasping his hand. Far beneath the waves, another capital awaits us. On the leading Genji boat, Yoshitsune stands on the prow and looks anxiously at Benkei. What is happening? Benkei's eyesight is better than most men, and he gazes with a worried expression. That is the Lady Ni, and she seems to be holding one of the Imperial treasures, my lord. The Imperial sword. And the boy that's with her? It appears that is the infant Emperor. Yoshitsune is now alarmed. Well, what is she doing? Why are they not surrendering? She can't possibly... As Yoshitsune watches helplessly, he sees that on the Imperial boat, the elderly woman and the young boy are now approaching the edge of the prow. Benkei says, my lord, I have a bad feeling about this. As the two boats approach each other, the elderly woman locks eyes with Yoshitsune for a moment and flashes him a look of pure defiance. She then holds the boy Emperor tightly in one arm, clasps the Imperial sword in her other, and steps up to the edge of the boat. Yoshitsune can now only watch in horror as he realizes what is about to happen, and there is nothing he can do about it. As the lady takes a step over the edge of the boat, he shouts out, No! In the next episode, we witness the conclusion to the Great Samurai Clash at Dan-no-ura, the battle that will decide the fate of Japan.